This is every Warhammer fantasy faction explained by PancreasNoWork. I want to watch this video so I can learn the fantasy factions, so I can buy the DLCs for the factions that are like on the Steam summer sale. Total Warhammer. Total War. Warhammer 3. Don't give the editors instructions, chat. I got it right the first time. Okay, we're gonna watch it now. No more yapping.
Controversial statement. I like when people get into Warhammer. It's always a joy to have.
Is that controversial? Not maybe in this day and age. It's controversial to not gatekeep our things that we love.
Have more people to play with and interact with in the hobby space. It's a new chance for me to try and convert someone, anyone, into accepting that the Eldar are actually really cool and interesting and please.
I hate to say it, but I don't like the Eldar. I don't really like them. Maybe it'll work. Maybe Pancreas will make me like them. Maybe it'll work. Sounds like propaganda to me.
Please, just for 5 minutes, stop saying elf bad. But speaking of elves, every time there's a wave of people that first learn about Warhammer, there's always one thing in common with them. None of them realize there's more to Warhammer than Space Marines, Tyranids, and spikier Space Marines.
That's true. That's actually true. When I first found Warhammer 40k, I thought it was StarCraft because I only had seen Tyranids and like the Ultramarines. That's actually true.
There's a whole other pair of settings that also exist, and they just fly right under the radar half the time. And this sucks, because the best Warhammer setting is right there. Yeah, GW ended it, but then it came back. And if you don't want to, you don't even have to collect thousands of dollars of minis to play with this one. Kind of. Warhammer Fantasy has been around longer than even 40k. It's had its ups, it's had its downs.
Oh, it's been around longer than 40k. Really? Wait, so was Warhammer Fantasy a thing before Warhammer 40k? It's the OG? What? How did I not know this lore? Oh my god. So like, did 40k surpass the original Warhammer in popularity then? I hear way more about Warhammer 40k than I do about Warhammer Fantasy. Interesting. Huh. I did not know that.
It got blown up for a little bit, but thanks to Total War, Vermintide, and the constant nagging of the community, you can once again play in the old world. With elves, dwarfs, and humans as standard, but also some more out there races, such as magical frogs, rats, and Walmart shoppers.
Walmart shoppers. That's so funny. I saw an interview with Rick Presley about this. They pitched 40k Rogue Trader first, but the publisher wasn't interested, so they did fantasy. Wow! That's interesting. And then 40k ended up taking off. It was different, though. 40k is different. There's so many fantasy games. I bet 40k was kind of something that people really gravitated towards. Yeah, I can boost the video volume. Just tell me if it's too loud. I usually pause to talk anyways.
And not enough people know about them. Not nearly enough. And not nearly enough people learn that this setting is even a thing. So I'm gonna be doing my part today. Today I'm gonna learn you all about every faction in Warhammer Fantasy. Some of them had extensive army lists and plot relevance, some of them languished when unupdated army books for years on end, and some of them until recently were relegated to about 3 pages.
This honestly, because I'm so D&D brained, this literally could be a picture from like Dungeons and Dragons. That's the vibe I get from Warhammer Fantasy. There's elves, there's dwarves, or like literally any fantasy book ever. I guess any traditional fantasy book.
Pages of background lore. Doesn't matter, we're doing it all. If you can conceivably consider it an actual faction, they'll be here. Think of it as a companion to this video. That one was me trying to overview the setting as a whole, and this one is about the groups of people in the setting. So let's dive into a world of fantasy and see what all that nonsense about them having the Warhammer is all about. But you're about to start listening to me list off all kinds of factions, and do you know what you could be listening to me with? Raycon and their everyday earbuds, the sponsor of this video. Raycon's everyday earbuds are some of the finest available on the market, and they've got a new and improved version just to go that extra mile. Let's just get right into the features of these bad boys. Multi-point connectivity, so if you and someone else want to share the music, you can with no problems. Active noise cancellation, because sometimes the outside world just needs to take a step back for a bit. And a new sleek ergonomic design to make them look and feel better than ever before. It's even got a cool protective case to keep them nice and safe. I've got them colored in a nice purple in a galaxy-themed case. It's got a nebula on it and everything. It's
Galaxy
nice.
theme.
You can get them in other options, though. There's plenty of colors to choose from. You know what's better than that? A 32-hour battery life that gets 90 minutes of battery per 10 minutes of charging. I forget to charge my headphones pretty often, and combined with my complete and utter lack of patience, that's usually a bad thing. But the everyday earbuds got my back. You can just charge them up for a little bit, and they're good to go. I use them when I'm painting or assembling minis. It's nice and relaxing, and the sound quality lets me tune out the world and get into the swing of things. This is good because, as you can see, I have a lot of minis to work on. But even with your own shopping needs, you can still enjoy
Literally everybody addicted to plastic miniatures. Just piles of unpainted minis everywhere.
the Raycon everyday earbuds. Click the link in the description or go to buyraycon.com/PancreasNoWork to get 15% off your Raycon purchase, plus free shipping. They're already half the price of other brands, and with my link you can get them at an even better price. Spice up how you listen to music, podcasts, and more.
I have rooms of shame. I have a spare room that has like all my bulk TCG cards, all my bulk Yu-Gi-Oh! Pokemon cards, D&D miniatures, going to be Warhammer miniatures, bunch of extra stuff just in my spare room. But this is my room of shame
With Raycon's everyday earbuds. Now then, let's talk about where it all began. That's orc spelled with a C, by the way, not a...
Oh, orcs spelled with a C. They're not orcs from Warhammer. They're orcs, not from Warhammer.
K. But across the board, the Greenskins of Warhammer Fantasy aren't that different from the ones in 40k, which is why we're starting with them. They like to fight, they're mushroom people, they're green. If you took an orc from 40k and put him in a greenskin tribe in Fantasy, he probably wouldn't be able to tell the difference.
Oh, they're still mushroom people, though. They're still fungus orcs. These orcs look exactly
Might
like...
wonder why
look exactly like the orcs from Warcraft.
no one has a decent shooter hanging around, but he'd be content with his life regardless. He might even be happier, because these orcs have characters like Grimgor instead of Ghazghkull. There are no thinking and tactics for Grimgor, only beating everything near him to death. The Greenskins used to have some pretty different lore, being closer
Is this Baldur's Gate?
to D&D than anything else. They had half-orcs, and they didn't reproduce with mushroom spores. Then as time went on, that was moved away from, and eventually we came to where we are now in the Old World. That being that the orcs hopped a ride with the Old Ones' ships when they came to the Warhammer Fantasy world. More on them later. From there, they naturally began spreading out across the entire world. The Old Ones and their servants did their best to get rid of the orcs as they...
Whoa! Wait, are these the Old Ones? Is this like art of the Old Ones? Who are these dinosaur people? They're so cool! Lizardmen. Yeah, because the Old Ones are like the space toads, but that's one way to look at them. Lizardmen, my Shaylas, my Shayla, Lizardmen. Wow, lots of people love the Lizardmen. They're cool.
They did all other races they weren't quite fond of, but you can't get rid of the...
Wait, the space toads in fantasy are servants of the Old Ones called Slan. They're basically Ustim? Do I look like a lizard man? Corporate has asked you to identify the differences in this picture. They are the same.
the orcs once they're on a planet. It's just not possible. So nowadays, if you wander around a given area long enough, chances are you'll find some greenskins kicking about, making things worse for whoever lives there. The orcs themselves are one of the biggest similarities between the two settings. The biggest guy is in charge of the tribe, and if you get a real big boss, he might be in charge of multiple tribes. And when you get a really big boss, you can get a whole proper WoW going. When this happens...
A whole proper WoW going. Hi, Retroside! Thank you for stopping in.
weapons, you usually get a whole lot of dead humans and dwarfs. Painting something red still makes it go faster, painting it blue makes it luckier, and can block arrows from killing the blue-painted orc. And they still love looting. Not nearly as much as in 40k, but you can always find an orc in a tribe wearing dwarf plate armor or wielding a human greatsword he grabbed off a corpse. They do have some more savage brethren who judge other orcs for using things like basic tools or digging a pit to shit in rather than just letting it drop where you stand, but aside from being a bit more magical...
Wow, they actually dig a hole to put their poop in? Men of culture.
Those orcs aren't really all that different. Where you get the biggest change, though, is with the goblins. See, in 40k, grots are an entire species of plot irrelevance to the orcs. You'll get one like Makari once in a blue moon who are allowed to be in the shadow of—
Wait, why do these goblins have guns? What the heck? That's crazy. These goblins have guns. Oh, these are 40k goblins. Okay, I'm like, holy, we jumped timelines here. Orcs are digging digging holes to poop in. The highly advanced orcs. And we got goblins over here with lasers.
of the spotlight of a far more famous orc. But the goblins in fantasy are an actual threat all by themselves. Sure, they're still cowardly and will refuse a stand-up fight unless they outnumber the enemy 40-1. Sure, they're still kicked around by the orcs and are used to do all the manual construction stuff. And sure, they're still slightly smarter than the orcs, so anything resembling any actual construction or research is done by them. But every now and then, not often, but every now and then, you get a goblin who's a cut above the rest. And when that happens, everyone's in trouble. The goblins are cunning little buggers. They know in a straight-up fight they're gonna lose, so they'll wait till the biggest orc around is sleeping and slit his throat, or poison
Oh my god! They're sketchy little guys.
his food, or convince him there's something shiny in a nearby cave filled with hungry trolls. And sometimes, if they're really insane, they'll overdose on literally magic mushrooms, and when they come back to reality, they've slaughtered every orc in charge in a manic frenzy. Now instead of a big green moron who just about knows which way is forward leading the army, you have someone like Skarsnik leading an orc army. A green little Sun Tzu who's gonna run circles around you and your entire military. Or
wow, that is so funny. Goblins are really clever little bastards.
you can get one that pretty much just lucks into the position, like Grom the Paunch, hallowed be his girth. Instead of being clever, he just got incredibly lucky and was forced to eat troll meat. Instead of exploding, which is normally what happens when you do that, he just kept growing alongside it. Three things happened. 1, he got so incredibly fat he'd beat rival orcs by sitting on them. 2,
That is so based. He beat rival orcs just by sitting on them. Praise the girth.
2, he became a legend among goblins everywhere. The alpha male fantasy they all wish they could be. And 3, he nearly ended the world by sailing from the equivalent of the Middle East or Africa to the middle of the Atlantic and destabilizing the High Elves.
Oh
if
my
you like grots
God.
but wish they could, you know, do anything important ever, maybe take a look at the goblins. Their history really isn't anything special though, mostly because they're greenskins and what you see is what you get. Usually, they beat each other up. Every now and again, one of them beats up enough orcs that he convinces them all to go beat someone else up instead. This continues until that war boss is killed, and then the orcs disband and go back to beating each other up again. Some evil dwarfs like to use them as slaves, and when they tried to make bigger, stronger, and smarter orcs to use as slaves, they immediately learned why that was a bad idea when the orcs revolted. If you like being mean and green, you'll like the orcs. And one crucial thing I nearly forgot, they love to dance. Wurzag may be the prophet of the orc gods first, but he's a hell of a dancer second. Now
Let's go. Break it down. Skarsnik is the only greenskin to get depression. When his squig died, he just walked away into a depressed funk and he was never heard of again. Oh, that's so sad. He was emotionally intelligent enough to get depression? Damn.
let's get out of the realm of similarities and into some things fantasy really does different.
Lizardmen!
When the old ones showed up, the planet they arrived on was ideal for creating the ultimate weapon to fight chaos. Of course, they still had to create it, so to do that, they started by moving the planet closer to the sun to warm it up, which pissed off a lot of things on it, like the dragons. Speaking of, there were a lot of races on the planet that wouldn't really like to share the
Wait, who moved the Earth planet closer to the sun? Who casually was just like, we're gonna change your orbit to be closer to the sun? The gods? Oh, the old ones of this universe. That's so funny. We'll just change the whole orbit of this planet. It's fine. Nothing could go wrong, right, guys? The old ones are just Mary Sue's.
room with the Old Ones' creations. So to help them with the legwork as well as get rid of all those fellas, the Old Ones created the Lizardmen. They also created most of the other playable races in the setting, so unless otherwise stated, assume all these factions started out as the test tube babies of the Old Ones in one way or another.
Okay.
The Lizardmen were not this ultimate weapon against chaos, although they were still pretty good at fighting. You know how I said the orcs resisted extermination by the Old Ones? That was just them who managed it. Everyone else fell under a tide of angry lizards, dinosaurs, or angry lizards riding dinosaurs. With that small little bit of genociding out of the way, the Old Ones set about making the
They just genocided the planet unless you were a lizard man or a dinosaur or an orc. Okay.
world fit their needs. The Lizardmen were their chief assistants, and to be the best secretaries they could possibly be, the Old Ones made them in several different flavors. All of them with a dash of Mesoamerican cultures thrown in, because if you have the option to have Aztec lizard riding dinosaurs, you have no good reason not to take it. First you have the Slan. The Slan are the best wizards in all the world. They may be big fat toad people, but the first generation ones were the ones who changed the entire planet's orbit, moving around.
Whoa! This is the guy in charge of changing the orbit of the Earth? This big fat toad guy? Okay.
Around where it needed to be in space. Moving down the generational line, they did get weaker, but that's highly relative. Second generation Slan could only cause entire mountain ranges to suddenly appear at the drop of a hat.
This is what peak magical performance looks like. Man, I wish I was a giant wizard toad. First generation Slan.
These were the Lizardmen who directly worked with the Old Ones and delivered their messages and will to the rest of them. Next you have the Saurus. Stupid people might think that since the Lizardmen are a Bronze Age civilization at best, they're not much of a threat. Then an 8-foot-tall monster from the Cretaceous period clubs you to death with an obsidian axe, and you find out just how the Saurus were able to depopulate an entire planet. These were the generals of the Lizardmen armies. They were bred for war and only war. They're pretty straightforward, and all their characters have the same background of bred to kick ass, but this is Warhammer. That's a feature, not a bug, and they break it down to its simplest possible form. Next are the Skinks. They're little chibi gecko axolotl things that do to the day-to-day management of Lizardmen society. You need a building planned out or to do basic diplomacy, you send the Skinks. They're also skirmishers. When the trees start speaking great planese, it's the Skinks doing it. They've even got their own god all to themselves, Sotek. It was a bit of a controversy when he came—
Sotek? Sotek? Skinks are cute. So these are the little diplomats. Any skinks in chat? Wait, Slan can summon a sunbeam as an ability in game? Man, I like the Slan. That's like my final form, chat. Just a big old dragon toad thing that has psychic powers.
Came around at first, but the rest of the Lizardmen seemed content enough to let him be worshipped. Finally, we have the Croxagores.
Whoa!
They're alligator men. They build the buildings and gator death roll all over enemy armies. That's it, but that's all they need to do. When Chaos first came and the Old Ones fled, the Lizardmen had to figure out how to not only survive, but continue the Old Ones' work in their absence, which they kind of sort of have been pulling off a little bit. They held off the invasion at the cost of almost all the first Slan and most of their spawning pools, turning them into a very numerically disadvantaged race. Not that this stops them from still sometimes rampaging across the world, but they are largely held up in the jungles of Lustria nowadays, also known as South America, because Warhammer Fantasy is just Earth if someone with really shaky hands drew a map.
Just Earth if someone with really shaky hands drew a map. Okay, so we put our fantasy in your Earth and gave it different names. Got it.
Of it. They're isolationists, the Slan will spend centuries at a time meditating on the few plaques the Old Ones have left, and they really hate when tourists come to Lustria because it's usually to steal those plaques. They're all gold, you see, because gold doesn't tarnish or rust. Convenient for writing things down in a jungle, less convenient when all the warm bloods come to steal the shiny stuff. If you see a Lizardman army, you're either screwed because the Great Plan dictates your death, or screwed because you're somewhere they don't think you should be. Very simple faction, but again, that's a positive. Sometimes being dino-brained is the way to go.
I kind of like the Dino Boys, actually. Did not expect to like the Lizard Boys so much, but they're kind of cool. Ooh, the Empire of Man. Here we go. Our favorite humans with daddy issues. I guess they probably don't have daddy issues in this timeline. Actually, they probably do, because that seems to be a universal thing.
Also known as the Imperium, but not as awful. These guys are the default protagonist faction. They're the strongest nation of men in the world, and that's no meaningless boast here, because there's actual competition they have in that department, unlike the Imperium. They formed about 2,500 years prior to the setting's modern day, when a pretty cool—
Imagine having an emperor that moves. This emperor is very much alive and well. No daddy issues here. Oh, wow. Okay.
cool dude named Sigmar was born. Sigmar had a dream.
Like Age of Sigmar? That's Sigmar? Is that the same Sigmar? Oh, okay. It's coming together. We're putting the pieces together on the map. Yes, John Warhammer. Got it.
Uniting the scattered tribes of barbarian into one—
And that's indeed the Warhammer? Is he holding the Warhammer? Whoa, that really is John Warhammer. Remember Sigmar? That is him. Wow. This is— I should have started with this. I should have started with this video 6 months ago.
unified nation of mankind to drive back the darkness and bring peace to the land. He did this chiefly by beating up everyone who disagreed with him, but in fairness, most of them deserved it. If this sounds familiar, let me just remind you that this guy was here first. Plus, Sigmar realized that outright killing everyone just because they disagree with you is perhaps a bad idea that will lead to problems later down the line. So
wow. He's kind of smart, too. He doesn't believe in just killing everyone that disagrees with you? He kind of looks like Conan the Barbarian. Everyone in Warhammer has daddy issues because the creators of Warhammer were stoned nerds in the late 80s ripping off every fantasy and sci-fi franchise. So they can go, "Are you proud of me now, Dad?" What a comment!
So he settled for only beating them up. Sigmar didn't just beat up people, though. He also beat up a lot of orcs. Like, a whole lot of orcs. So many orcs that the dwarfs swore eternal friendship with mankind, because if Sigmar is so kick-ass, surely the rest of humanity can't be that bad either. He united most of the tribes of man in the area, and you better believe I'll come back to the most later, and formed the Empire of Man. 50 years later, he just up and left. A little bit after that, he became a god, and the Empire soon—
He became a god too? I mean, not saying our emperor is a god, but maybe. Huh. Okay. He became a god. But he doesn't live forever, I don't think. Oh, wait, actually he does. He's an actual god. Okay. An actual god.
worship Sigmar as the chief god of their pantheon. The Empire is pretty unique as far as fantasy factions go. Usually a fantasy setting will reach the medieval era and then very explicitly never move past that for the next trillion years of its history. The Empire isn't like that. When Sigmar was doing his thing, it was barely the Iron Age. The dwarfs giving them steel weapons every now and then was considered the height of technological advancement.
Wow.
Nowadays, 2,500 years later, the Empire has tanks. Good tanks? Yeah. Look, for a Renaissance age civilization, tanks are pretty damn impressive no matter how good they act.
Yeah, dang, they got tanks. Started from the bottom, now we're here. We got some tank-looking apparatus. Steam tanks, the height of technology. Oh, that is really cool. The steam tank is so funny and so cool. It's kind of cute. It's kind of cute.
Actually are. They have factories, mechanical horses, and countless other things that make you wonder if the book you're reading was put in the fantasy section by mistake. They also have wizards who scam people out of $50 for the thrill of it, politicians who constantly need to be wrangled by the one competent guy in the entire government, and enough floppy hats to arm the entire Holy Roman Empire with. They're still normal people, though. The three things that make the Empire great aren't genetically modified super soldiers, or lost technological secrets from a golden age, or even the direct intervention of their gods. It's faith, steel, and gunpowder. A whole lot of each. Give a man a halberd, a cause to fight for, and his friends by his side, and it turns out you—
That sounds like just history. Faith, steel, and gunpowder. A summary of every war ever. During the industrial age? I don't know, when did they get gunpowder? Oh, and a dash of magic, true. True. It's literally just the Holy Roman Empire? This doesn't, like, give Roman vibes, though. It gives, like, King Arthur vibes, for at least the aesthetic. That's because the Empire is literally the Holy Roman Empire with a light sprinkling of steampunk. Wait, the Holy Roman Empire was Germany? Wait. The Holy Roman Empire is different than Rome? Oh, wait, I didn't know that. Wait, what's the Holy Roman Empire? I didn't do well in history, chat. Who ruled the Holy Roman Empire then? It was Germany? German and France? Who's like the main historical figure that I would know from this? After Rome fell, a bunch of rich nobles were like, maybe I should be the emperor because God chose me. Oh yeah, that sounds like something that would happen. Oh, Charlemagne! I know who Charlemagne is. He's French. We need to have a history stream, I think, where I literally just learn the history so I can understand Warhammer better. The Holy Roman Emperor equals a huge mess that is basically Germany, but claimed to be the successor of the Roman Empire. Oh, okay, I'm understanding. When the Roman Empire fell apart, and then some guys were like, we're gonna take over now, and this is the Holy Roman Empire because religion.
Can push back even the most determined of evil murder Vikings time and time again. Most Warhammer fantasy books follow the Imperial characters around, and you get a good feel for just how fleshed out this land is through them. You've got the Heartlands, sure, places like Altdorf where it's interconnected with the wider world, magic runs through the very city through its colleges of magic, and elves and dwarfs can be seen regularly. Then you have backwater shitholes like Ostermark, where the people are outnumbered by everything nearby that wants to kill them, and guns are still a scary black magic invention for a good half the population. Or Averland, whose most noticeable trait is that they hunt halflings for sport there. There's halflings in the Empire, by the way. They can vote on the next emperor because
they have hobbits? They have halflings? Cleo collab now? Oh my god, I think I would be a disappointment to Cleo. I don't know if that's a good idea. Poor hobbits. Oh.
Because they baked a...
Why would you hunt a hobbit for sport? They're just little guys. How cruel.
Previous one a really good meal. They also had a civil war over pie. Don't be a halfling in Averland. You're gonna decorate someone's mantelpiece sooner or later. Of course, this is still Warhammer, fantasy or not.
That looks like an Inquisitor. This looks like a fantasy version of an Inquisitor.
Sure, I said it's not as awful as the Imperium, but it still has witch hunters who will burn you alive for being a wizard, or being a mutant, or just for being a bit too ugly.
Oh, an actual witch hunter!
Gas mutation. And it's still a Renaissance-age civilization.
Stim peasants! There's representation of you in the game, Stim peasants! There you are, working the field so I can live a lavish lifestyle in my Stimdom castle. Totally. Totally. You paying your tithes. Oh my god, it's us for real. Look how happy you are. You look so fulfilled. It's honest work.
For 90% of people, this means it's a medieval civilization, but you might see more pretty statues and paintings than your ancestors did. You're still probably gonna die of the water making you poop too much. They're bordered by the undead, beastmen are everywhere once you leave the city limits, and worst of all, they have people who have sex with horses for neighbors.
Wait, what? Oh no, they actually have horse girls in this game?
Empire is constantly on the defense, from orcs, from chaos, from beastmen, which are a different kind of chaos, and really anyone else who's feeling a bit bored that day. But the average citizen of the Empire will do their part to keep the hordes at bay, and at the end of the day, they did this for 2,500 years until the authors decided reality itself had to go, which is a pretty good track record. They're a human, relatable nation, like if the Imperial Guard got to actually be the main characters of 40k instead of Space Marine 9001, model on—
Oh, okay. There's a centaur somewhere, but he's mocking the French. Oh, that went over my head. He's mocking the French. I didn't get that.
Sale now for $60. It's grounded with—
Bretonians don't actually— with the horses, PancreasNoWork has a very personal vendetta against the Bretonians. Oh, okay. They're like French and Britain combined. I see.
People having normal struggles, but also fantastical, with wizards and monsters being everywhere. They do have one ultimate ace in the hole, though. The reigning emperor, Karl Franz. The best statesman in the old world.
Karl Franz?
The guy who wields the Warhammer. You know the one, the actual real-life Warhammer logo. That's his, and he's very good at using it. He's the kind of politician who could convince you into giving him everything you own and leave you thinking you got the better deal, but also the kind of person who wouldn't do that to you. He's got everyone's interest at heart, and overall, this guy's the best emperor in Warhammer. Not Warhammer Fantasy, Warhammer in general. Kiss my ass, corpse worshippers. This one can walk, talk, and beat you to death in the name of the Empire.
Kiss my ass, corpse worshippers. He literally throwing hands at people that worship the Emperor in Warhammer 40k. Corpse worshippers. That is so funny. So there's like actual good guys in Warhammer Fantasy, like actual good guys. That's so crazy to me. I didn't realize that. I mean, trying to be good, not just like wanting to be evil. Turn the video off right now. Such heresy can't be tolerated.
If you like relatable folk with a touch of the fantastic, Sigmar and his people have your back. But I did say most tribes are united by Sigmar. Unfortunately, a couple weren't able to be integrated for one reason or another. Let's talk about the one that I like first.
The Kislev.
Kislev is all of Eastern Europe thrown into a pot and mixed to boiling until it coagulated into one Slavic specialty stew. They live in a frozen hellhole, which is also their country's greatest defense. They wear thick fur pelts. They have winged hussars.
This is basically Russia, but they ride bears.
They also squat in the middle of a battlefield, because such is the natural state of the Kislevite. And vodka. Even the dwarfs and their genetically ingrained alcoholism respect the drinking skills of a Kislevite. Kislev's job in the setting is to face tank chaos invasions before they get to the Empire of Man, which they do pretty well. Half their cities are torn down in the process, but they're a hardy bunch. They walk into the winter snow.
More like Slavs. Right, Slavs. Pretty much Russia plus Poland. Less Russia, more Poland than Ukraine. Ah, okay. This is really cool. So they're like the first line defense against chaos? Is that just because that's where chaos comes out? Is like right by their country?
Oh, and when everyone occupying their land freezes to death, come back in and rebuild. Their religion is different from the empires and they view them as weak southerners, but the two nations—
Oh, chaos come from the north. Wait, like Game of Thrones? when the undead guys come? They're holding the wall, basically? Man, everything in fantasy has been done. It feels like in some way or in some form from some other media. They come from a big vortex portal in the North Pole. Okay.
Nations are still staunch allies, mostly because when the forces of actual hell are your neighbors, anyone else is going to be a good friend. They're led by the Tsar or Tsarina of Kislev, because GW was worried you wouldn't understand.
Wait, they're ran by the Tsar? Isn't that like what the Russian nobility is called, the Tsar?
Understand which region this place is based.
Oh, Tsarina, sorry.
Off of. Many times, and indeed the last one before the world blew up, this was an ice witch, a handy person to have running your country when a raging blizzard is considered a mild day. You still can't play as Kislev in the old world.
Oh my god, this is basically Canada. This is basically where I'm from. A mild blizzard is basically a normal day. I would be a Tsarina. Canada. Representation of Canada as well. She rides a massive ice bear? That's really cool.
World, thank you GW for that extreme blue balling, but they had some pretty heavy redesigns and a lot of the marketing for the old world did at one point feature Kislev. Here's hoping GW realizes that winged hussars riding bears is something people are interested in. Shame that sentence needs to be said. I don't know why anyone would ever need to be told that. Blat.
Bretonnia!
These are those people who have sex with horses. When Sigmar was uniting everyone, they refused to join him, because obviously they were too good to join him. Did they have some super special magical secret, or a technology that could let them surpass the fledgling empire, or some other race in the whole? No, but they copied the elves' homework and—
Yes, streamer. Okay, that was just a poorly timed. I didn't mean to imply that my chat has sexual relations with horses, but I just meant Bretonnia is canonically the stimdom from now on. I just paused at a really bad time. My chat is wholesome. They would never do that. They would never do that.
and are French, so they decided they were too good to shack up with a future god and went it alone. Bretonnia looked at all the cool advancements the Empire was making, how it was a dynamic nation in a genre that usually gets to the medieval era and then freezes like it's going into cryo-sleep, and said no. We will not be doing that. We will be staying as medieval land. It is mandated by the government that technology will not advance, that society will never have any major upheavals, and that everything is just perfect the way it is. It's like that old decree the Pope made that declared crossbows were a blasphemous weapon, taken to be an entire society's philosophy. Bretonnia is all about knights. Baby.
Yay! Oh my god, I actually love knights. Holy heck, I might unironically like Bretonnia. I love knights. I love cavalry.
Knights proving themselves, magical knights defending the realm and saving damsels, knights leading the country to further the goals and interests of the rest of the knights. Imagine King Arthur. That's it. Just imagine King Arthur stretched out to be a whole faction. The in-universe justification is that they saw high elf cavalry and just ran with the concept. Out of universe, it's just King Arthur and every medieval stereotype thrown together. You could, admittedly, say the same thing about the Empire and the Holy Roman Empire, or Kislev in Eastern Europe, but those are eras and places fantasy writers don't usually copy wholesale, so they get a pass from me. Bretonnia is the land of almost every fantasy setting ever conceived since Lord of the Rings, and it shows. Unfortunately, they can afford to do all of this fantasy stasis, because an elf goddess is playing them like a fiddle. Their precious Lady of the Lake, also known as the Elf Goddess of Magic, chooses some super special knights to become Grail Knights. They sip from her
Grail Knights? Like the Holy Grail? Ew, there's a lot of King Arthur stuff going on here.
chalice of bathwater, and when the now Grail Knight emerges, they're like supercharged D&D paladins. Bullets are an inconvenience, their armor is magically toughened, and their mounts never tire, so until the
It is literally just King Arthur.
Empire invents the Gatling gun, they're able to keep being aggressive backwater dickweeds. In older lore they were tolerable, but in modern lore someone must have felt they weren't angsty enough and made them nice and extra oppressive. The peasants are honored if the noble allows them to have 3 pennies a week.
Those are, trebuchets. Wait. Actually, they look different than trebuchets. Maybe they're not. What is that? Like a ballista or something? Wait, they have winged knights? Flying knights? Oh, that is a trebuchet. Oh, okay. They look like more advanced than the normal trebuchets. Pegasus Knights? They have Pegasuses? Oh my god, I love it! Flying Horse Knights? Heck yeah!
A week instead of 2, ladies who aren't magical are property because medieval times, and social mobility is a punchline. I hope you like medieval medicine. The Empire's medicine already isn't that great. Bretonnian medicine is the kind of thing that has a 300% fatality rate. And horses. Everyone has a horse. Even the lowliest peasants have a horse that more often than not eats and lives better than they do. I like horses.
This is like the horse girl faction. And not Uma Musume, but like actual horse girls. Like me. That love horses and grew up with horses. This is my faction.
But I don't like them that much. If you've ever been to medieval times and made that your entire personality, Bretonnia is a good faction for you. Because God is real and hates me, they're also one of the starter factions of the old world, so getting into Warhammer Fantasy nowadays is pound for pound fairly easily done with Bretonnia.
Perfect!
In all honesty,
This is gonna be my first army unless something better comes along, which might happen in the rest of this video.
pick them if you like them. It is on some level cool because for as much shit as I was giving them for being generic and bland knights, knights are cool. There's a reason every 5-year-old wants to be a knight and not a landsknecht. I mean, for God's sakes, just trying to say that word is difficult.
Cathay.
The other army GW has refused to put onto the tabletop despite already having a direct hand in reworking them for Total War. Did you know there's a fully fleshed out Cathayan army book for GW developed? You can't have it because funds not allowed. This is a shame because Cathay is awesome. Dragons are also awesome. Cathay.
Ooh, they have like the Eastern dragons. Cathay just released? Oh, Cathay is just better Bretonnia, to be honest. Oh, cool. So these are new models now because this is old. Cathay exists and it's very cool. Ooh, cool. Second favorite faction. Wow, everybody loves Cathay.
Cathay agrees because they're ruled by immortal dragons who the Cathayans.
Oh, hell yeah. They're ruled by immortal dragons? Look at me. Literally look at me. Dang.
Follow at every whim. Fantasy China is a magical place and one of the few places in the entire planet that might not be a terrible one to live in. Every now and again, it does what actual China used to do and implodes, and sure, those ruling dragons get along like all siblings do.
Yeah, it's literally you. I am the Dragon Empress. I am. We've ended our relationship with Bretonnia, and we have now entered in a relationship with Cathay. This might be the Stimdom. This might be more of the Stimdom, since you're ruled by heckin' dragons.
I.e. barely at all, but in day-to-day life, not a bad place. And it always comes back together after imploding, usually after Mommy and Daddy Dragon come back to kick everyone's heads in until they start behaving again. It is, like I said, just fantasy medieval China. But that is a compliment. You know those terracotta soldiers? What if they were animated by magic and also 100 feet tall? Are you a 40k fan? Imagine if the Primarchs weren't utter morons and failures almost to a man. Because that's Cathay. Again, for reasons I will never understand, we don't have them yet in tabletop. But Total
We do now! I got news for you, we do now.
War does, and by God is it fun to play as Cathay. The Silk Road was prosperous in real life, and it's prosperous in Warhammer, so if/when they finally come out, prepare to show the world why China was for a good 1,000 years the most prosperous country on the planet. It's even better here, because this Great Wall has magical dragon ladies guarding it. Oh, Cathay is also near the countries of Nippon, Ind, and Koresh. Nippon is Japan, Ind is India, and Koresh is Southeast Asia. I'm not giving them their own spots because no one cares about them, and I can't bring myself to either. That's it for the non-chaotic living humans, but that doesn't mean we're done talking about humans. The next few ones just don't have a heartbeat. Or skin.
Oh man, there's not much info about Cathay, I guess because at the time it wasn't on tabletop. We'll have to do a deep dive on Cathay then. Because I love magical dragon ladies. Vampire counts. Okay. We love us some vampires. We love us some, like, evil, horrible, scary vampires.
These are the bad guys when chaos is taking a break. Imagine Dracula, if you will. Now imagine Dracula if he had a 100,000 strong army of zombies, skeletons, lesser vampires, and pretty much anything else that you could find at a Spirit Halloween. The total history of the vampires stretches back thousands of years, but for the purposes of this video, we're only going to go back a few hundred. We go to a fella named Vlad von Karstein, because if you haven't caught on yet, this setting is allergic to subtlety.
This setting is allergic to subtlety, so true. Everything's just like ripped off from like the real world somehow.
Showed up to the very on-the-nose Empire province of Sylvania, which was a horrible place to live. It was covered in swamps, the people were dumb and afraid of scary monsters, and because this setting is what it is, they weren't even wrong to be so. When a peasant in real life says the witch made their family ill with the plague, it's baseless superstition. When a peasant in Warhammer says that, there's a good chance they're right. When a Sylvanian peasant says that, they are right. Vlad shows up to this province, marries the daughter of the ruling noble to become—
Like, when they say Vlad, are they like making... like, does that come from Vlad the Impaler, like the original Dracula? It's like that, is it that on the nose? Oh, it is!
Next ruler,
Okay.
And despite being a blood-sucking vampire, this place sucked so hard it was a marked improvement. Even better, him and his wife Isabella actually loved each other. They had vampire kids like Conrad von Karstein, who is insane and liked to twist the heads off of peasants, and Manfred von Karstein, who is the worst. Of course, this wouldn't be Warhammer if everyone was just nice and peaceful.
They have zombie dragons? Oh man, that is cool. That is really heckin' cool.
So one day Vlad had a brilliant idea. What if—
That's a bat? How in the world is that a bat? That is the most insane bat I've ever seen. Holy.
he was the emperor? He could live forever and usher in an eternal age of prosperity. Mostly for vampires, but for some of the people too. So he tried to become the emperor. At gunpoint. Zombie point more like, but 100,000 zombies is a lot more effective than most Renaissance age guns were. He failed, but the damage was done. Him, his wife, and their children spread vampire—
Okay, there's the zombie dragon. There's the zombie dragon. I hate Manfred. Oh, this is a— oh my god, this is a Bricky raid. Hello, welcome raiders. Welcome. I was like, wait, where did all these chatters come from saying they hate Manfred? My OBS is putting up a fuss today, so it's a little scuffed. Hi, Bricky. Welcome, raiders. My name is Stimpak. I'm a manager at Glitch Stars. I'm also a dragon. I'm a chaos lover. I'm sorry. You can hate me if you want. I love chaos. I heckin' love Necrons and World Eaters. But I'm learning about Warhammer Fantasy today for the first time. I hope you had a good stream, Bricky. Thank you for the raid. Chaos and Necron, she's so base. You're literally like the first person to ever say that, Bricky. I get so much hate for liking Chaos. Chaos is Korn's faction, right? I love Korn. But I'm actually Zinch coded, but I do like Korn because I like a man who keeps his word. Chaos are just Marines with actual character. It's where people go and they really learn. Wow! I feel like, wow, I feel vindicated. I feel very vindicated. Thank you. I'm happy that they're bringing the Primarchs back. I very much love the Primarchs. I might be writing a Primarch. Well, maybe I shouldn't say this. Maybe writing a Primarch fan fiction. Reverse harem, college AU. Anyways, this is why I got into Warhammer. I'm so sorry. We're learning the lore so I can be canon to the lore of the Primarchs. Link, please. You know what? They have to understand the reason for the deep dive. There's a reason. Hell of a self-report. Thank you for the sub, Pickled Matt, and thank you for the gifted sub to Bricky. Thank you so much. Thank you for all the new follows too. Thank you, Danger, for gifting a sub to Bricky. I have all of my sound alerts and everything turned off because my PC was actually possessed by the chaos spirit and started doing funky things, so so well I was lighting candles, we were doing the prayers, we had incense going. My PC is just it needs to be exercised. That's all I can say. I don't know what's wrong with it. I did bless it. Hey, what's it mean to be a manager of Glitch Stars? I manage many of the VTubers that we love at Glitch Stars. I manage Virus, that has me, Bell, Leah Asimov, and Mamie. I also help Sunny Explosion with some things. They're my little babies that I take care of. We're also all going down a Warhammer rabbit hole right now, which is really funny that it's seemed to have gripped us all. I think we all, I don't know, we're just like hyper nerds, hyper fixating on Warhammer. Bricky tends to do that with his guides. Yeah, Bricky was the introduction through Sunny, my introduction at least. And once I got a hold of Bricky videos, I moved on to Luton videos to do an actual deep dive into like the lore. So I'm cooked. Yep, they got my ass. They got my ass. Now we're doing fantasy because I kind of want to play Total War. Bricky is a gateway drug. Luton is great. Yeah, Luton is great. I actually learned, I was watching his Imperium of Man series. I learned so much in those videos. Anyways, we should keep going. This is a long video. I'm actually just learning the factions so I can buy Warhammer Total War. Is it Total War 3? Well, I should probably buy all of them, but it's on sale right now for the Steam Summer Sale. Tomorrow is the last day. I need to learn all the factions now so that I can buy the ones that I want while it's on sale. Total War Warhammer 3. Yeah. So that's why we're cramming the info in our heads now. So that I can pick which ones I actually want to buy, because there's a lot of DLCs. All you need is 3. It includes 1 and 2 except the DLCs. I kind of want to get the bundle. But so far, and don't at me, I like Bretonnia and Cathay. So yeah, don't at me. I like my knights. I like my medieval fantasy. We're learning horse. I'm a horse girl, okay? I grew up on a farm. I love my horses. I'm a simple girl. Both empires that oppress the peasants. Which is so funny because my chatters are called Stim peasants. And they are very oppressed. But they like it that way. They like it that way. I know, I just listened to a whole bunch of Bretonnia slander, but I still like them. We'll see if it changes when I actually play the game, but right now we're learning about Dracula's. The vampire count. Vampire counts? Okay, onward with the video. Thank you for the raid. I hope you guys are tucked in for movie time. We're learning fantasy today.
Prism across the Empire. Now Sylvania is barely even considered a part of it, and everyone does their best to ignore it. This is probably a bad move, because every few decades some vampire likes to try their hand at raising a massive undead army to take over the Empire with. They all fail, but they're very murderous. Them failing means the Empire's population only drops by 20% instead of 100%. Just watch the first episode of Castlevania if you somehow haven't, for what it's like when the Midnight Aristocracy goes to war. There's a lot of vampires to choose from though, to get your specific undead needs satisfied. The Von Karsteins are the classic vampires, who want to suck your blood and rule.
They want to suck your blood. They want to suck your I mean it is really on the nose, isn't it?
Over the night. The Lamians are a vampire KGB, with spy networks in pretty much every place on the planet. Except Lustria, probably. The lizards don't take kindly to that sort of thing. The Strigoi are what happens if your average Florida resident became a vampire, the Necrocs are evil wizards, and the Blood Dragons are a heavy metal album cover. If you thought it was kick-ass when Dracula sent the forces of hell to wreak havoc on the living, you'll love the vampire counts. But I did mention that some of the undead don't have skin, and vampires usually have that at least. For those fellas, we need to go further south.
Oh my god, it's Necrons! It's basically fantasy Necrons? Okay.
Egypt. Ancient Egypt. Ancient Egypt. You now understand the basics of the Tomb Kings. Once
That's
upon a
so funny, the Tomb Kings. They're even called Tomb Kings. The Bone Boys. Hi Stim, I was just watching one of your React videos. Glad to catch you live. Thank you for being here, Blanco. That's so cool. I'm glad you could catch it live. I love Necrons, so we'll see. But I like Necrons because they're super powerful and they have super, like, crazy power crept levels of tech. So I don't know if it's the same charm.
Thousands of years in the past, the lands of Nehekara were prosperous. They had regular contact with their gods, magical constructs to defend themselves with, and when they had a good king like Cetra, they would sometimes go on to conquer half the world. Then a fella named Nagash was born. He's awful. This man was a monster through and through. Oh. He's really smart, though. Smart enough to capture dark elves and force them to teach him dark magic, which usually humans can't do. Smart enough to invent necromancy with what he learned. Oh. Smart enough to overthrow his brother, the king, and take over most of the land with his undead forces.
We got our first, what's it called? I was gonna say lich. He kind of gives lich energy.
And he's also quite powerful with his magic. He was eventually overthrown and cast into the desert where he died, but he invented necromancy. Death is a suggestion for him, such is his power. When he inevitably came back, he discovered someone had stolen his research notes and used them to make vampires. He made those vampires his generals, and no, they didn't have a choice in the matter, and then decided ruling just Nehekara with undead wasn't enough. So he formed a plan to kill everyone in the region at once, resurrect every corpse on the planet, and take over the world with his World War Z undead army.
Oh my god, this guy's kinda... Holy, he doesn't mess around.
Part 1 of the plan went off without a hitch. It was only through the intervention of the Skaven, who I promise you will love, and the last living dude in the region, which kept most of Part 2 from happening. Then everyone in Nehekara promptly stood back up, realized their hearts were no longer beating, but they were still standing, and things got messy.
Wait, this is kind of giving the same storyline as Necrons a bit. Didn't they just lose their humanity too? Every Necron? Except for they were remade into like machine roboties. These guys are just undead. Nagash has the biggest ego in all of Warhammer 40k or fantasy. I kind of dig it.
Imagine Game of Thrones before it became horrible, with all the political fighting over who gets to be king. Now imagine Game of Thrones if every single person who was ever the rightful king was now alive at the same time fighting over what was their throne. Not they believed it to be their throne, or they wanted it to be their throne, it was the throne they sat on once upon a time. And
technically, the Tomb Kings came first, the Necrons are copying their homework. That's true. Yeah, you can copy my homework, just change a couple things so it's not obvious. Except it's obvious.
And also they can respawn. And also, most common people were mindless undead skeletons who had the flesh flayed from their bones with the desert winds and could only follow basic orders, like kill that guy who thinks he's the real king. This does not a stable nation make. Luckily, the priest woke up that Cetra guy, who cockslapped everyone until they started behaving again. Now
Wait,
the Tomb
what?
Kings no longer have skin, have no clear path to achieve immortal bodies to feel with again that they so crave, and no longer have the backing of their very gods. Fortunately for them, death is more of a suggestion. They can still use magic, even if not quite as good as it was when the gods were helping, and they now have eternity to do whatever they want, as long as it doesn't involve some sort of physical sensation. Sometimes they still fight amongst each other, sometimes they spend their newfound immortality pursuing whatever hobbies they want, and sometimes they sail all the way from Egypt to Sweden and burn half of it to the ground because someone stole their hat. And on the rarest of occasions, a tomb queen will tell a strapping young lad that if they still had functional genitals, she'd fuck him so hard the experience would kill him.
Excuse me? What? That's part of their lore? Okay, that's crazy. Wow. That's crazy. It was in a book. The Tomb Kings were based. Quintessential to the lore, actually.
They're very fun. They're true neutral to the core. Some of them want conquest, some of them just want...
Oh, that's cool. They have, like, snake people. They're cool. I might just really love ancient Egypt, actually, considering how much I love Necrons and now Tomb Kings. But they're very cool. And, like, they're undead horses. Snake people, they're sweet.
Want to find new hobbies. Some hate the living out of jealousy, some don't care either way as long as they serve, and some go out of their way to find human members to recruit for their court because it reminds them of what they've lost. If you can think of a motivation, there's a Tomb King that has it. It's a very simple thing to know if the Tomb Kings are for you or not. Do you like the Mummy? Do you like ancient Egypt? Have you ever wondered what it'd be like if the Sphinx came to life and started crushing people like Godzilla?
Yeah?
Tomb Kings are perfect for you then.
Nice.
And hey, look at that. They're the other starter faction for the old world.
Oh my god, I like the starter factions for Old World. Holy, my wallet is happy. I mean, who am I kidding? I'm gonna buy all the factions anyways because I can, but yay!
Now you can get into fantasy
I'm like the basic bitch. I just like the basic starter factions.
proper without people like me dismissively calling you a horse molester. So now we can leave this region of the world and indeed humanity, and I have forgotten 4 human nations that deserve at least a little bit of credit. Shit.
Oh. Tilia, Estalia, Border Princes, Arabi, the Nobodies. Okay, the Nobodies.
Tylea is Italy during medieval/Renaissance times, so it's thousands of city-states smushed into one country. It's right next to the Skaven capital. There are worse places to live. Estalia is Spain without the colonial empire.
Okay.
Both of these places say they're the first civilized nation in the old world, which the empire disputes. The border princes are the land of whatever the hell you want it to be. It is an excuse to make your own homebrew army, and they fight orcs more than anything. Most of the people there are either fleeing from the empire, leaving the empire in a futile attempt to make it big, and petty nobles. Araby is exactly what you think it is. Turn Aladdin into a war game faction, but only a background faction.
Every faction so far it's exactly what you think it is. You hear the name? Yeah, that's exactly what you think it is.
And if you think that's me being dismissive of it, do please read about Sultan Jafar's military campaign against the old world. It's actually got advanced medicine, science, and magical practices and theories, but I can guarantee the only thing you're going to remember about this place is Sultan Jafar.
That's it? That's all we get for that? Okay. I guess there's not much to say about that, so we'll just move on to elves.
We're going to start by clumping all the elves together, because their backstories are all very interconnected. Don't worry, they'll each get their own time to shine. Once upon a time, there were just...
For any Dragon Age fans in chat, the Border Princes are the free marches. Oh! That's a really good explanation. That makes so much sense to me. Okay.
Elves. The first species created by the Old Ones to fight chaos, they were made to be elves. Arrogant, long-lived, and short of the Slann, they're the best wizards around. Then chaos descended, the Old Ones pissed off, and the elves had no idea what the hell to do. Eventually, a cool elf named Kalidor made a magical vortex. The chief cool elf, Denarian, grabbed a...
Whoa! Look, I'm not an elf lover. I don't love elves. He looks pretty cool with the dragon behind him like that. Oh, he looks pretty cool for an elf.
Cursed sword that killed a whole lot of demons, and then everything cooled down a bit. Anarian disappeared, but they elected a new king, so all was okay. His children with his first wife even showed back up to be a bloodline of legendary heroes, though they're also cursed because of that sword. Then Anarian's second wife told their son Malekith that he should be king, convinced him with her boobs because family trees can be shaped like Christmas wreaths if you don't mind being a freak, and a civil war broke out. Malekith walked into a sacred fire to prove his worth, whereupon their chief god lit him on fire. Him and his...
What is happening? The elves' history is like some family daytime soap opera drama.
His mother kept trying to take over the home continent of Ulthuan. They nearly unmade it when they realized they couldn't, and then the newly formed Dark Elves were forced off of it to go live in Canada. The High Elves, those who stayed behind, once again got to rebuild the shattered remnants of their home.
Set me on fire, bro. I can take it. What if we made Darth Vader an elf? Oh, okay, interesting.
At least they still had their firm friendship with the Dwarfs. That's a good thing. Oh, wait, that got ruined too.
Oh.
I don't feel too bad. The High Elf King ruined that one for them himself by being the worst. That one wasn't an unfortunate tragedy. It was a self-imposed unfortunate tragedy. The Dwarfs and the High Elves fought fantasy World War I, and it was pretty miserable for everyone involved. Picking a victor is sort of meaningless because both groups were pretty thoroughly wrecked by the event, and the High Elves had to return home when the Dark Elves began the first of many invasion attempts to retake Ulthuan. Some High Elves didn't go home and sheltered in a magical forest called Athel Loren instead. Now we have our third group of elves, the Wood Elves.
This is very traditional fantasy. Wood Elves, High Elves, Dark Elves, all the regular elves you would think of. Canada is filled with Dark Elves. They're not beating the war crime memes. I mean, well, we do like our war crimes in Canada. What can I say?
The Wood Elves are the easiest of the subgroups to explain. They sit in their magical forest and are insane. Sometimes people walk into the magical forest. It's safe to assume that unless stated otherwise, they do not come back out of the magical forest. Sometimes even if you come out of the magical forest, you find that 1,000 years have passed since you entered, and every single one of those years catches up with you as you age to dust within minutes.
It's like the Fae, kind of. Malekith was officially renamed Malerion due to copyright issues with Marvel. Oh. I don't know what Malekith is. I don't know Marvel.
Aside from that, though, your first instinct might be that these are stupid, uninspired, lame D&D Wood Elves who love nature and harmony and trees. And in fairness, they do love all those things. It's just that these trees are 50 feet tall, mobile, have a craving for the suffering of mankind, and the Wood Elves will invite peasants to feasts to fatten them up for the forest spirits. They don't give a rat's ass about the outside world aside from how it might affect their perfect little lives inside the forest.
Oh, they're like actual Fae. The kind who do horrible, messed up things and for fun because they can. Like, actual Fae, not like the cute Fae.
There are a few scattered enclaves of them across the world that are a bit friendlier, but the general motivation of the Wood Elves is getting other people to get the hell off of their lawn. And when the lawn can come to life and devour you alive, it's a pretty easy task to do that. They also gaslight the Bretonnians into thinking their goddess is an elf one, although as it turns out later on, the extent of the elven gaslighting goes even further beyond their understanding. They're led by the avatars of two of the elf gods, naturally the ones that are focused on nature, because Wood Elf. The king likes to rampage across Bretonnia every now and again for funsies, and the
yeah, for funsies. Okay, the Wood Elves are kind of based. I like them. Wood Elves, if nature decided to say F you. I mean, nature's scary, y'all. I get it. Real nature, like a real nature spirit, would totally destroy you with no remorse and then use your decaying body as nutrients.
Queen sometimes says don't do that, sometimes doesn't care, and sometimes encourages it when she's in a feisty mood. They're not my thing, truth be told, but I can respect the idea of wanting to be left alone for all eternity. So if you too cringe inside a little bit whenever you get a text message or a Discord DM, these guys might be for you.
Okay, I really like Wood Elves. No way the Gardener likes the nature faction. I like the nature faction because they're actually kind of scary and they'll fuck you up.
The High Elves are the ones that stayed on Ulthuan and remained much the same throughout. And like I said, the old ones sure as hell made them to be elves. Long-lived, magical, arrogant, and because they live for thousands of years, they're real good at what they do. Some of their swordsmen have been practicing for so long that they take into account the weight of their eyelashes when they swing. You're not beating that. And sure enough, the history of the High Elves is the history of them sailing out from their homeland to go stop most of the problems the world faces. They taught humanity how to use magic properly, they keep excess magic from saturating the world, and they have a habit of showing up just as they're needed to stop things from getting completely out of hand. There's a High Elf who destroyed orc warbands that have been rampaging since the dawn of time and was so good at it that he gave the entire Elven race a reputation amongst the Greenskins for being good fighters.
Wow.
All of this because a fat goblin burned down his house. And if
All of this because a fat goblin burned down his house. The history is kind of derpy sometimes.
Of course, Teclis my beloved. Is there a 10,000 strong army of orcs, dark elves, or worse bearing down on you? Well, with a wave of his staff and a flick of his wrist, there is now a new crater. He's a real cool guy like that, and he's not even that arrogant. The flip side to balance this glazing session I've just done is that they do actually have weaknesses to go along with all that. They reproduce slowly, and in a wargame setting, that's the mark of death.
Oh.
Every death in battle is a hindrance, although at least compared to 40k, they
Teclis is the Mary Sue of all Mary Sues. I feel like this is High Elf propaganda, chat, I'm not gonna lie. I, on principle, usually hate High Elves. Because I hate how they're always like, the most magical and the most highborn and the most bestest and most beautiful. So I just don't like them because of that. Teclis almost saved the world. Almost. Teclis taught humanity magic. Looking at Nagash, maybe that was a mistake. That's true. You're gonna tempt humanity with magic, they're gonna abuse it, like everything.
Aren't outright dying. They're on the watch list for being endangered rather than being endangered outright. And magic being so innate to them means that when something with it goes wrong, they feel it and are affected by it more acutely than most. Like when their magical queen is sad. Their entire homeland's
Like when their magical queen is sad. When she's having a sad girl day. A sad elf girl day.
climate is tied to her emotions, and like any living being that isn't a psychopath, she is sad when a great amount of her people die. So when Malekith decides today is as good a day as any to get 1 million people killed trying to retake his homeland again, it really sucks to live in the same country as her. They're also physically frail, which isn't the—
Oh, their magic is tied to their emotions. Hi Mac, welcome back. I see.
biggest weakness in the world, but you'll definitely notice it when an orc is bearing down on them. They've also got a bit of a species-wide depression thing going on too.
Why are all elves depressed? Like, why are all elves depressed? I guess because they live so long and they're just like become disenchanted with life. Have you seen the world they live in? Because they're elves. Because they're on the decline and everything is a mess. After eons, they have seen some shit. That's true, I guess. I mean, I would be sad if I was an elf that lived forever. And everyone I loved died. If I loved filthy mortals. Wait, are elves, do they live forever in this setting? What's the word? Immortal in this setting? Or they just live for a long time? I don't know if he said that. Usually elves are basically immortal. Or they just live for a long time. Not forever, just a long time. I posted a link where you can buy TWW cheaper than on Steam on Discord. Is that okay? That's okay. My mods will check it out anyways, but yeah. They can get old, but most don't die of old age.
When you live functionally forever, you get a long time
Oh my god, he just said it. Wow. Imagine, maybe I should listen to the video and stop asking my chat.
to get a real feel for what the world is like. And as it turns out, this world kinda sucks. They just don't have time to recuperate from any of their constant losses. The world is in danger, the High Elves sail out to fix the issue, and then the world is immediately in danger again. Add on to that some more standard Elven weaknesses, like their old age, meaning they don't always adapt to new things well, and you've got a race that has a bit of a deadline attached to it. Mankind is inventing guns, tanks, and more, and the Elves think the bow and arrow remains the height of warfare. To their credit, though, they're damn good with that bow and arrow, especially—
Are the elves basically boomers? Like they refuse to catch up with the times. They just keep doing their elf thing. Yeah, kinda.
When it's a magical lightsaber bow and arrow. And dragons. The High Elves are best friends of almost every dragon that isn't from Cathay. Dragons are scary in a fight, and let's be honest with ourselves. If a dragon declared your hometown to be the best thing ever and made sure to always visit and help out when it was in trouble, you'd have an ego the size of Mount Everest too.
True.
Overall, if you like elves, you'll like these guys. Even if you don't like elves or only associate Warhammer's elves with the Eldar, the High Elves' ability to actually put their money where their mouth is might win you over. And if nothing else, there's an elf character named Aletha Nar who skins dark elves alive because he just hates them that much.
Holy! Skins dark elves alive. Damn, what did they do to you?
And is overall Michael Myers if he had pointy ears and special forces training. Hard to get more unelven than that guy. Speaking of ego, though.
Yay, dark elves! These are usually my favorite kind of elves. Dark elves actually did a lot to them. Okay, fair. Okay, they sacked his entire homeland. Alright, fair. Okay, I guess. But to be skinned alive? It's pretty metal. It's given Drukhari vibes. Dark elves. Yeah, the sexy elves.
Take the stereotypical elven arrogance, or if you're not a big fan of the race, elven racism. Now jack it up to the logical extreme endpoint of the concept so that they don't only think they're the best, they think of all other races as vermin that should either serve them as slaves, be hunted for sport, or outright eradicated. Welcome to Nagaroth, friends. It only goes downhill from there. Warhammer North America sucks. It's home to the Dark Elves after they got kicked out.
Oh wait, this is actually Canada? I thought you guys were trolling me, but this is actually Canada. Why are we the Dark Elves? That is so funny. Okay.
Out of their old home, and the entire thing is either a frozen hellhole, a desert hellhole, or a frozen hellhole bordering actual hell.
I mean, that's not wrong. That is completely correct. That is completely correct. It is a frozen hellhole, and it borders actual hell. So I mean, I can't even defend my country.
There's something called the Altar of Ultimate Darkness inside of this place. Do you think anyone that lives here is gonna be nice? Sure enough, the Dark Elves aren't nice. There used to be some human tribes that lived in Nagaroth, and then the Dark Elves killed or enslaved them all. They have cities built into mountains they use as ships to raid and—
That's Vancouver! I think you mean Toronto. I would say that's Toronto.
enslave others, they kidnapped high elf children to raise as dark elves, and the entire society looks like what would happen if every single Decepticon was Starscream. Murder and treachery are only illegal if you get caught, and if you're powerful enough, not even then. They're led by Malekith and his mother Marathi, the same two elves who formed the Dark Elves 10,000 years prior. Marathi is kind of just always awful, but sometimes if you squint real hard, Malekith can almost sort of a little bit resemble a noble elf hero he once was. Then he does things like instituting the elven god of murder as the head of the Dark Elf pantheon, uses demons as auxiliaries when he invades Ulthuan, and starts the Warhammer Fantasy Triangle slave trade.
Oh, wow. Okay. Canada starting the slave trade? That doesn't sound right. You missed the fact that the Dark Elves turn entire mountains into ship? Oh, that's kind of cool. Mountain ships? Wow, they look really cool, though. Like, that armor? That's really cool. It's giving, like, Daedric. It looks very Daedric. Very cool.
In spite of failing to retake Ulthuan every time he tries, he's a damn powerful wizard and warrior both. He's just Darth Vader, actually. He's even got the suit of armor that helps keep him alive because he was severely burned. And who can forget his mommy issue?
Oh, right, because he was set on fire. Oh, so the armor keeps him alive. Okay.
Although I don't think Anakin ever piped his mother, so a little bit different there. There is no height of cruelty that Dark Elves don't aspire to. Acting nice gets you killed because it clearly means you're weak. Admitting you're a bit tired or injured gets you killed because if you were strong, you wouldn't be injured. So clearly you're weak and someone else more fitting should take your spot. They don't have as many dragon allies, and the ones they do are corrupted by dark magic, so they just grab whatever monstrosity they can find in the Midwest and put it in chains until it's time for battle. Much like their cousins in space, if you find you're about to be captured by them, it's probably best to just off yourself. They may not have quite as exotic measures of torturing you, but they—
This is basically the Drukhari, but like watered down. It's like watered down Drukhari. So they really They really took dark elves and were like, you know what if we made them worse? What if we made them even more depraved and insane and horrible when they made Warhammer 40k? Bye, Starlight Serpent.
They make up for it with a real go-getter attitude in the field of human rights violations. There's a holiday called Blood Night. The cult of the god of murder goes around and kidnaps people to murder. They steal elven girls to be trained as witch elves like them, and they throw elven boys in a cauldron of boiling blood.
What?
If they survive, they get trained as an assassin. I don't think a concrete statistic has ever been given, but you can assume that not many people survive this. If you like being edgy, either ironically or because you think suffering is inherently deep, you'll like the Druki. I can already feel the view.
The Druki? You'll like the Druki. Okay. Is that actually their name, the Druki? Oh, I thought that was it. I just see that it's called Dark Elf / Druki. I don't know, that's kind of a funny name. The Druki.
Viewer retention
Druki, Drukari.
going down, though, from how long I've been talking about elves. So how about we move to their polar opposites?
Dwarves!
Elves are posh, regal, and always at least a little bit uptight. Dwarfs are brash, to the point, and consider sobriety a sin. While the elves of Warhammer have a few things that make them stand out a bit from the standard elf template, the dwarfs of Warhammer could fit in just about any setting with minimal issue. They like drinking, they like mining, they hate orcs, and getting them to compliment
Worst faction? What do you mean? I usually like dwarf factions. Oh yeah, they're not dwarves, they're dwarfs. I usually like them.
Dwarf craftsmanship is like pulling teeth from an orc. They hate magic both because it's weird elf nonsense and because when the old ones made the dwarfs, they made them so opposed to magic their mere presence makes it not work properly. They love mining in mountains because that's just what dwarfs love. They do have three things that make them stand out, though.
Rock and
First is that
stone.
it's pronounced dwarfs, not dwarves.
Yep.
Second is that these dwarfs are industrious little fellas. They've discovered oil and how to use it, and with it make hell.
The original oil barons were the dwarfs? Interesting. This is a very common fantasy trope. Dwarfs don't like magic, like mining, build stuff, like alcohol,
helicopters, trains, and more. While humanity has galleons with cannons and the elves have either magical dragon ships or city-sized slave ships, the dwarfs have ironclads, submarines, and aircraft carriers.
Wait, what? Okay, steampunk dwarfs. They have ships and aircraft. They have aircraft carriers and helicopters. What the heck? They're militarized dwarfs.
They hate using them because no proper dwarf would ever be happy with anything but solid earth under their feet, but they have them. They're slow to change to the point that anything less than 500 years old gets you complained at if you suggest using it, but at least some of them understand that the 20-barreled artillery piece is nice to have even if their ancestors might not approve. The second is that these dwarfs are the embodiment of the word spite. They're bitter that the other races won't just conform to proper dwarf ways. They hate orcs and goblins for ruining their once great cities. They hate the elves for that.
They're just bitter old men. We just hate the other factions.
War they got into thousands of years ago. A war that ultimately started, mind you, because the dwarf diplomat forcibly had his beard shaved. There were some other factors leading up to it, but that was the final straw. The average dwarf doesn't know about the Lizardmen much, but they'd certainly hate them too.
The average dwarf doesn't know about the Lizardmen, but you know what? They hate them too.
They knew the Slann were involved in shifting some mountain ranges around that destroyed a whole lot of dwarf holds. Have you ever wronged a dwarf? Into the book you go. The Great Book of Grudges, that is.
Oh my god, they have a book of grudges. They literally have a burn book. They have a burn book. That bitch.
Every single thing that has in some way wronged the dwarf race is put down in there. Most dwarf holds have their own personal ones for slight against them in particular. Some dwarfs have their own personal book. Even if they don't, they have photographic memory. If you've wronged them, they'll remember.
Oh,
it doesn't even
wow.
need to be on purpose. A human town once shorted the dwarfs 2 coins by accident in exchange for some construction work. The dwarfs sent an army and killed everyone in it. If this
Oh my god, wow. They are really spiteful. Holy. From shorting them 2 coins, they killed everybody? Dang.
happens to you and you try to seek some sort of retribution for this insane idea of compensation they seem to have, you're going back in the book for any harm you might cause doing it. They will spend centuries and entire military campaigns fighting wars to right grudges, and naturally anything that happens to them during these campaigns leads to more grudges, which leads to them trying to right those grudges, which causes more grudges. You know that saying about digging 2 holes when you set out for revenge?
Yeah.
2 holes is not nearly enough for the Dowie. And who could forget the Slayers? Let's say you're a dwarf, and you committed some seriously dishonorable action. Maybe your negligence led to other dwarfs getting killed. Maybe you fled at the—
He looks hard as hell. He's got like an eye patch. He's cool. Slayers are the best part of dwarfs. That's Gotrek. See, this is the kind of dwarf I just realized he's holding an orc's head. Oh my god, badass. Gotrek the Giga Chad. Amazing. Most dangerous dwarf alive. He's cool.
the height of a battle. Or maybe you just lost a bit too much money on a—
Oh, is that a goblin he's holding? Oh, I guess the nose. Yeah, it is a goblin. It's hard to see.
bet, or had your beard shaved against your will. In any of those cases, there's only one option available to you. Kill yourself. Take the Slayer Oath and die in battle. There's no redeeming yourself in any way but death. There's funerals held for those who take the Slayer Oath before they even leave to find something to kill them.
Oh my god, they have funerals before they leave because they know you're probably not coming back? That's kind of metal.
Because for all intents and purposes, they've died and the message just hasn't gone through to them yet.
Wow.
If you want some great books that explore Slayers, Dwarfs, and the Warhammer world, read Gotrek and Felix. Read Gotrek and Felix anyway. Do it. Now. Well,
Alright, adding Gotrek and Felix to my list of books to read. I have a whole list of Warhammer books to read. So why not add fantasy books onto it as well? Coffin dance, except the coffin is empty and the Slayer is dancing on top. That is really cool. I like the Slayers. They're cool.
the dwarfs certainly have their work cut out for them. They've got some good stuff that makes them cool regardless. They can't use magic like wizards, so instead they grab it by the balls and hit it with a hammer until it works perfectly how they want it to with their runes. The longer their beards are, the more respected they are, and there's even a military unit called Longbeards. If their beard can touch the floor, they get equipped with some of the best armor dwarf money can buy. They've got the finest weapons in the setting, the finest armor in the setting, and while they may be slow as all hell, if they catch you, it's game over. If you like facial chair, hate change, and despise other people for being different, take a look at the dwarfs.
If you despise people for being different, take a look at the dwarves. If you're racist, the dwarf is the faction for you. The Slayer cult is a suicide murder cult? Sign me up. Sign me up for that. Chaos dwarves. Alright, there's a chaos version. They're a little freaky
Imagine
with it.
dwarfs without that silly grudge ideology. You've committed a wrong and have to make up for it, but you can right it without causing your own death. And what's more, you can properly use magic. Fireball and lightning and all those other lovely spells you can think of. Without the shackles of tradition or even their own biology holding them back, they can produce wonders of both magic and industry. Unfortunately, they replace stupid grudges.
Oh my god, look at that crazy looking guy. Is this the cult dwarfs? Guy's crazy looking. Holy. Time for dwarf wizlords.
with one of the most horrific slaver cultures around, and they forego tradition to worship actual demons and dark gods.
Oh, okay. Demon worshipping wizard dwarfs. I got it. With funny hats.
And being able to use magic isn't necessarily a good thing, because it eventually turns them into stone statues.
Oh.
These are the Chaos Dwarfs, and they're horrifying in a way the more human followers of Chaos can only dream of being. Saying they take the best of the dwarfs is sort of overstating it, because the best of the dwarfs is their willingness to stand by both the letter and spirit of their word. They'll have your back no matter what. Plus, while their incredible stubbornness does hold them back from a lot of progress they can make and gets them into some stupid conflicts, it also means they're not only going to accomplish whatever they set out to do, but always stand by your side. If the dwarfs say they're gonna help you, they're gonna help you. And
I mean, they're men of their words. Are they high-value men dwarfs? Even if they're a little crazy? They're a little twisted? They'll keep their word. They're not gonna lie to you about it.
if a human, dwarf, and elf are all fighting together, the dwarf is gonna be the last one to break. The Chaos Dwarves take these traits and have molded them in a way that is best suited to being an evil bastard. The craftsmanship
They've taken those traits and molded them so that they can be more evil. Okay.
The Dwarfs makes weapons, yes, but also architectural wonders and genuine pieces of art so good it can make a man weep. The Chaos Dwarfs make hell factories that are 2000% efficient and make the most brutal weapons Chaos has to offer. They take the runic magic of the Dwarfs and use it to bind demons into their weapons and armor.
Whoa! That's pretty cool. That's really cool.
The demons aren't happy with this, but the Chaos Dwarfs are still dwarfs. They're so good at what they do that more often than not, the demons are powerless once the Chorfs get their hands on them. They aren't numerous, and they aren't even terribly expansionist, but when the
I was gonna say, the Iron Warriors are fantasy. We've heard that before. We've heard of factions binding demon souls into technology, into industry. Huh. And they're basically the Iron Warriors of 40k, but in fantasy. Take a demon, shove it in a machine, and you have the Cathay units? Interesting.
Chaos Dwarfs do go to war, there's nothing that can truly equal it. The finest weapons and armor just like the Dwarfs, only now bolstered with the power of Hellspawn. They even have the closest thing to a nice Chaos god to worship, which give them all sorts of benefits. Hashut. Sure, he's called the Father of Darkness and is the god of tyranny and is over...
The Father of Darkness and... the god of tyranny. Holy, we're getting dark. I think the Chaos Dwarves are worse than the Dark Elves at this point. Damn.
All exactly as evil as you'd expect from that, but he doesn't screw the Chorfs over. They want power, he likes it when tyrants are in power, so in exchange for them using their dwarf talents to enslave others, he gives them power. The most commonly seen use of Chaos Dwarfs is as artillery crewmen for the Hell Cannon unit, as well as frequently selling Chaos Lords weapons and armor.
Can you get a mini of this? Because I want a Hell Cannon. That is so cool. That would make such an amazing mini. If you painted it, like, fiery and stuff. You can? They're super old? No, that is cool. I want a Hellfire Cannon.
This is because of both their isolationist nature and because they don't really have an army. They do have legacy rules for the old world, and they have had an army, unlike Cathay, but their status as properly playable is a bit all over the place. Still though, if you don't mind legacy rules and finding either old minis or third-party ones to use, you can field a Chaos Dwarf army. So if you like the Dwarfs, but...
Okay, this is a tangent. Quickly, I have a question. I know I should look this up myself, but can you play Warhammer Fantasy tabletop like Warhammer 40k? Like, you build your own armies too? Is that how it started? I know they have like the miniatures for Age of Sigmar, but I haven't heard much about people building Warhammer Fantasy armies. It's called the Old World now. Interesting. Does anyone have an Old World army that they play with or collect? Or is it kind of dead? There's rumors that the Chaos Dwarves are about to get a new release as new faction in Age of Sigmar, so they may have a new canon model. The Old World was only brought back recently. Ah, okay. It's coming back. Oh, it just came out like 2 years ago. Okay. Because I know it was Old World, Age of Sigmar, and now New Old World? Warhammer Fantasy was discontinued at one point, but it's now back as the Old World. Age of Sigmar, the models look so cool. When I was on the Warhammer website ordering my Necrons, because I ordered a set of Necrons to paint, I saw the Age of Sigmar stuff as their like new shiny thing, and I was like, wow, shiny, pretty, fantasy undead dragon thing. I like it. I don't know what it is, but I like it. Yeah, Angron's demon model. He's cool. Demon Prince Angron, he looks amazing. Age of Sigmar has really nice sculpts. It's so good. Old World is vanilla WoW to Age of Sigmar retail. Wow, what a good comparison. Holy, that makes sense to me. Old World is vanilla WoW to Age of Sigmar is retail WoW. That makes sense why it's so shiny and pretty. That's such a good comparison. Next, holy. As a rehabilitated WoW player, that makes so much sense.
Wish they were horrendous in every way possible, check out the Chaos Dwarfs. just get used to people calling them Dwarfs. Not the most dignified nickname, that one.
Ogre Kingdoms.
The ogres were the last race the old ones made before pissing off. They're resistant to chaos, tough unlike the elves, capable of changing things up quickly unlike the dwarfs, and are as ambitious and fluid as mankind. Unfortunately, the older ones couldn't quite get them to stop eating everything in sight, and never properly finished them before they left, or their homelands for that matter. When chaos invaded, the ogres were left unfinished in this state, and many became nomadic after they ate.
My model's covering him up, but like, look at this guy. Wait, I gotta move out of the way. He's so funny. Is this the king of the ogres? Is that the ogre king back there with his little hat and his little, like, harness? His little gem harness? He's like a little BDSM jeweled harness. That's Goldtooth himself. That is hilarious. He's like cosplaying as a king. That is one of the playable leaders in Total War 3. Grease's Goldtooth. Amazing. Okay, that's amazing. I love it.
Ate everything in whatever their first homeland was. They also ate the ancestors of the modern-day giants, who were a whole lot smarter, wiser, and
They ate the ancestors of the giants? Holy!
powerful than the inbred alcoholic morons that giants are in Warhammer today. Things were made worse for them when they decided to migrate into Cathay, because the Dragon Emperor dropped a meteor on their homeland and blew it up.
Wait, what is this? Huh?
Now they had nowhere to return to, were still really hungry, and that meteor made a big hole called the Great Maw.
Excuse me? How does a meteor make a hole called the Great Maw? That is nightmare fuel. What the heck? Yeah, don't piss off Cathay. Damn. Tzeentch, that's how? Oh yeah, you're right. It does give Tzeentch energy, doesn't it? So obviously they started worshipping the hole. I mean, if a giant meteor destroyed my homeland and made a demonic hole that devours things, I would probably worship it too. That would be like a sign from the gods to worship the giant maw. Or Tyranids. Oh, or Tyranids. It does look very Tyranid. Stimpak, if you've ever played D&D, the ogres essentially ate the storm giants and all the giants left are hill giants. Oh, okay. Yeah, I do play a lot in D&D. That makes sense to me. That's crazy. Okay.
It's a big hole in the ground with teeth, and the ogres throw food and people into it to get magical powers. They also worship a volcano and drink its lava to get fire magic.
What?
Neither of the past two sentences were made up by me. I love this setting. They're vaguely based on Mongolia, but I don't think Genghis Khan ever ate an entire city's population. Killed everyone in it, sure, but I don't think there was mass cannibalism. The ogres, though, do exactly that. Everything about them revolves around food. Their social hierarchy is in large part determined by
They're very Tyranid coded. They just eat, they devour, they eat yum nom noms. The trailer for the ogres in Total Warhammer 3 is a perfect summary for them. Great song too. We should watch the trailers actually for the factions. That's a good idea.
By how fat you are. They have a race of goblinoid slaves called Noblars they employ as equal parts pack mule, assistant chefs, and snacks.
Oh wait, I'm misunderstanding. They actually cook them? That's not Tyranid. I thought they just like devoured them. They actually cook? They're little chefs? They're not a swarm army. That's so funny. They just like some tasty foods. They're foodies. This is like Delicious Dungeon, but they're ogres.
They go to war to eat other races' food and or the other races. One of the most common ways you'll see ogres around is as mercenaries, because while they are stupid, they're smart enough to realize being a mercenary means you can travel the world sampling all the food you can find, and you'll even get paid for the trouble. The gut is a sacred part of an ogre's body, to the point that oftentimes it's the only part of an ogre they keep protected with armor. That might sound stupid, but consider they're twice as tall, 4 times as wide, and 8 times as heavy as a normal person, and can reliably defeat demon invasions. The closest thing to an ogre central government is Greece's Goldtooth tribe that sets up toll booths on the trading routes between Cathay and the Old World.
Okay.
Aside from that, though, they can be literally anywhere. They're happy to sell their services to all races, and sometimes they can even become corrupted by chaos. Being resistant to chaos, corruption, and immune to it are different things, especially if they willingly join for one reason or another. Sometimes they even embrace the cultures of the places they go willingly.
Oh my god, it's pirate ogres! They're so cute! They're cosplaying! They're so cute! Pirate ogres! I like them! Aww!
An ogre isn't exactly gonna fit in an Imperial Nobles party, but are you gonna tell the 9-foot-tall slab of muscle with a racial reputation for eating people that he's being a bit of a slob? No, you aren't. And if someone-
No, you aren't! You're gonna say he's a very handsome gentleman. A scholar and a gentleman. I like ogres! I wasn't sure at first, but they're kind of funny.
does, everyone at your fancy dinner party now has some rather gruesome entertainment, while your ogre guest has dessert.
Oh, Demons of Chaos. Okay, Demons of Chaos. Moving on from the ogres to demons. Demons, it's your boy.
The Chaos Demons are pretty similar between fantasy and 40k. They're all servants/bits of a greater god, sufficient concentrations of magic can allow them to show up, and when a wizard messes up their spell, they can manifest that way too. They want to tear down the mortal world and bring ruin to the realms of man, elf, and dwarf, all that good stuff you can expect of demons. The only real difference is how they came about. In 40k, all the Chaos gods have birthdays.
Oh, those are the guys. Those are the guys, the demon guys. That's, is that Nurgle or is that just like a Nurgle general? But he's got the vibe. Nurgle and Slanesh demons. Oh, they're just the demons. They're not the great unclean one. Ah, okay. I can't with Nurgle because the like grotesque guts and stuff like that. Can't do it. I can't do it, which is hilarious because I'm very green coated. I like Mortarion, though. He's cool.
Slanesh has the most concrete one, but the other ones at one point very much came into existence. Warped timey-wimey cop-out garbage means they've also always existed, but I don't care about that. In fantasy, they have always existed, though. They're just evil gods who exist to ruin stuff. It's how it works. Chaos came about when they...
I have not seen the Great Clean one. I have not. It's worse than the unclean one?
broke through the portals on each of the planet's poles when the old ones overused them to ferry materials and magic to their burgeoning creations. Other than that, pretty much the same, if with a small bit more emphasis on their positive aspects. Only a small bit, though. Khorne still likes war, Nurgle still likes disease, Tzeentch still likes scheming, and Slanesh still likes degeneracy. Same demon units, same greater demons.
Oh, okay.
Hell, most of the named demons are the same.
It's
Where they
literally
really shine and
it's literally the same. Okay.
differentiate between settings isn't their followers. Let's get GW's least favorite child out of the way first. The Beastmen are a cross between
The GW's least favorite child, the Beastmen? Wait! It's the monster guys? Do they have centaurs? They have centaurs?! I see a centaur. I'll heckin' love centaurs. Holy, I love centaurs and minotaurs. The Beastmen don't get love, unfortunately. No! Why is it always the factions I like?
beasts and men. Being born of chaos itself, the dark gods don't need to bribe them with gifts to ensure their worship. Unfortunately for them, this means the Beastmen rarely, if ever, get any gifts from the gods. They know they'll always have their worship, so they get the scraps the proper chaos warriors get. Given that one theory of how they came about is man and beast getting a bit too friendly with each other, I don't feel too bad for them. Don't let that fool you, though. While the nations of men consider them to be a nuisance for all but the most isolated towns, and the dwarfs view them similarly, the wood elves know the true danger they represent. In the forest of the world, millions of them lurk, and when they go to war, entire swaths of the country are trampled underneath their hooves. They defile nature
Underneath their hooves. They're very strong, powerful, muscular hooves. Yeah.
with their every step, and won't stop their savage crusade until the civilized peoples of the world exist in a constant state of being hunted by their bestial overlords. At least that's what we're told in between lore blurbs of them being butchered like the cattle they look like. For the love of God, at least the Eldar are powerful on the tabletop more often than not. The Beastmen usually suck on tabletop and in the lore. I'm trying to be a hype man for the factions here, but while I wasn't for Bretonnia because I hate them, I'm not for the Beastmen because I pity them. For what it's worth though, they are incredibly dangerous to the average person in this setting. Villages at the frontier of almost every faction are regularly under assault by Beastmen raiders, and when they gather in force, they'll be wiped off the map at a moment's notice. And since they're all part animal, they have incredibly sharp senses. If you get in a fight with one while you're traveling, it's
what a time to reload the stream. I am wholesome. What do you mean? Look at this face. This is the face of purity and wholesomeness. There's not a single thought behind those eyes.
it's already game over. You can probably take that one on, but the 20 or so more beelining it in your direction because they heard a fight is a different story. The Beastmen are a savage race to the point that things like intact walls drive them to frothing rage, such as their hatred for civilization. All they do in their free time is get into brutal fights amongst each other, sometimes involving one challenging another for a position in the hierarchy, but usually just to assert dominance or for fun, hunt people, and drink. They do have some forms of worship for the Chaos Gods, and their shamans both help construct
Oh, that one's got wings! They got flying minotaurs? That's cool. This is where the stream crashed last time, but that's cool. We made it to flying minotaurs. That's Malagor. That's so cool. He's sweet. He's really cool. Yeah, we crashed right before this. The winged goat man.
effigies and are actually revered by other beastmen as something above their common squabbling, but for the most part, they're every stereotype of barbarians squashed into one. Aside from those shamans, they have no desire to form their own culture, civilization, or cities. They just want to hunt like the beasts they are. The beastmen may be a bit of an acquired taste, but for what it's worth, I don't think I've ever seen people address beastmen players with anything but some measure of respect. Well,
yeah, respect me, chat. Respect me. Respect my... what's the word? I don't want to make it use a weird word. Respect my opinions. Yeah, my opinions. Not the things I'm into. Interest. Yeah, my interest. My special interests. Respect my special interests, chat.
Beasts of Chaos are no more, the OG Beastmen of Fantasy have returned to the table.
Poor life choices! That too.
Top. If you like the idea of being this savage force of nature that just wants to ruin, all the while being backed by the dark gods, the Beastmen might be for you. Just, don't expect to win all that often. Part of the respect Beastmen players get is for sticking with an army that Games Workshop seems to hold in utter contempt.
Warriors of Chaos. Warriors of Chaos. All jokes aside, I'll tell you my favorite faction at the end of the video. I still have a couple left to go, but I have a few top 3 factions right now, which I'm interested in.
I know I'm incredibly biased, but I do not care for the motivations of most of the traitor legions. They strike me as like listening to a story about me and my siblings not getting along when we were kids, which I'm sure is at least partly intentional.
That's basically the Primarchs, yeah.
But that's not the kind of motivation I want for why someone sold their soul to the forces of hell. At least not on a faction-wide level. By contrast, let's look at the Warriors of Chaos motivations for worshipping chaos. I'd say there's 2 blanket ones you can say. The reasonable one is that they live in the barren, icy lands of Norska. Aside from the southernmost regions, permafrost
Norska. Okay.
covers the whole land. No crops can be grown, and few animals are around to hunt. Because of their proximity to the North Pole, where the realm of chaos intersects with reality, a lot of those animals are heavily mutated, if not outright demonic.
Whoa.
A lot of these people are also almost explicitly forsaken by Sigmar, as a lot of the ones who live there now are the descendants of the ones Sigmar forced out when he was forming the Empire.
Oh.
With all that in mind, I think it's at least understandable that these people would turn to the Chaos Gods for protection and worship. If the only option of worship is the guy who's all about plague, you might as well hope he's in a good mood and will keep the plague at bay in exchange for a few sacrificed southerners. The other motivation, while less relatable, is also much more fun. Just wanting to be an evil, powerful overlord. Why do you worship the dark gods? Because they give you ultra-powerful cursed armor you can use to give them more sacrifices to gain more power with. Why do you slaughter in the name of the blood god and all the others? Because it's fun.
I was literally gonna say, because it's fun, why not? Why not? Now, why not sacrifice people to a blood god? Because I like sacrificing. I like blood for the The mind meld is real. Blood for the blood god, skulls for the skull throne. If evil bad, why fun? Exactly.
Who gives a damn about morality? That orphanage made the mistake of being in front of you, so it obviously had to go. If the Blood Dragons are a heavy metal album cover, the Warriors of Chaos are every heavy metal album cover combined into one. Kill for the dark gods at every possible moment. Let loose your darkest desires onto the world, because you have the explicit backing of the powers that be to do so. The Norskins who live in the frozen north will make pilgrimages to the northern pole and realm of chaos to become true warriors of darkness. If they're unlucky or unworthy,
oh, what the heck is that monstrosity? Ew. Ew, it's gross. I don't like it. Chaos is cool until it's yucky. Heck, I like chaos until it's yucky.
will turn into chaos spawn or demon food. If they're lucky or
Chaos
worthy enough,
spawn.
they'll become mighty chaos lords. And if they're really lucky and get just the right amount of attention from their gods, they can become demon princes of chaos.
Ooh.
Mortal beings with the blessings of the gods themselves to pillage across the world in their name. Look at this dude. He has 4 weapons visible alone, and his armor looks like he just grabbed every single bit of scrap metal around and had a demon turn it into something almost coherent to look at. If you want to play the bad guys who revel in being bad guys for the sake of it, the Warriors of Chaos have no equal. But believe it or not, these guys aren't the evilest faction.
Skaven! This is everybody's favorite, I think. Skaven, the rat boys. Rat people. The rats! Rats are the best, yes, yes. Are they also the most evil? It seems to be, he implied they are the most evil. The worst of the worst. Funny rats. Yes, and it's not even close. They killed the world? Oh man, okay. They're the most insane? They sound fun.
I love the Skaven. Take a rat, make it person-sized, walk on 2 legs, and fill it with hate. Now let them outnumber
Fill it with hate.
everyone else combined by a factor of 10, give them energy weapons and the foulest of magics, and a desire to see everyone else brought low before them.
Is that like a Frankenstein rat right there? Behind me? Are they like evil scientist type? They like to dabble in the science. Ah. Oh my god, that is a gerbil wheel. Oh my god, that's so funny. Most of them are just slaves. They are cartoon villains, but with gore. That's hilarious.
With that, you have the Skaven, and they are truly glorious. Unlike the Chaos Gods, their god of the Horned Rat has absolutely no positives. His own little territory in the realm of chaos is the realm of ruin. It sucks, and in there is a greater demon of his for every single Skaven, all of whom also suck. With numbers and power like they have, there's only one reason the Skaven haven't already taken over the world. The thing their god and race embodies more than anything else is the word asshole. They hate the other—
What? The word asshole. They do some unethical experimentations. Interesting. This is very interesting.
races for sure. They're petty and spiteful enough that even though they don't have any uses for gold, they mine it solely because it inconveniences everyone else.
Oh my god, they're so petty. They don't even use gold, but they just take it so no one else can have it. They're so petty, I love them.
But they hate each other only a fraction of a fraction less than they hate everyone else. They're also all power-hungry morons who are convinced that if they were in charge, they could lead Skavendom to victory. And of course, themselves to a life of luxury and power. So one will have a plan to defeat a dwarf army, and then all his underlings immediately begin sabotaging each other to look good for the commander, sabotaging the commander to take his place, and then sabotaging themselves because they're just stupid.
Oh, they're like backstabbing the backstabber that backstabbed the original backstabber that backstabbed the one guy. It's all treachery all the way down.
They eat each other for food, the Skaven at the top bully the ones below them, and this lovely form of Reaganomics trickles all the way down to the common clan rat bullying Skaven slaves because the rat above him bullied him because the rat above him bullied him. Of course, none of this matters in terms of defeating them. For one, they're rat people. There's a reason the only human-inhabited place on Earth that doesn't have rats is Alberta. The Skaven
Alberta mentioned. Oh, that's so funny.
Literally breed like rats, because they are. In the time it takes you to kill one, they've already given birth to another 1,000. In a chapter from a Skaven character's point of view, the commanding wizard of the Skaven army remarked,
They have wizards? Oh man, I thought they were just tech guys. They have rat wizards? Hell yeah, brother.
it was impressive how they managed to pull off a victory despite only outnumbering the enemy 4-1. When a 4-1 ratio is what they consider to be a pretty even fight, you can rest easy, knowing there's a lot of rats under your feet. Or don't rest easy. I wouldn't. And of course their technology. It's the best in the world. They have nuclear weapons.
Oh my
They burrow
God.
under the ground and put them under people or places they don't like, which is everywhere and everyone. The only places the Skaven don't have some presence on is Ulthuan, the High Elf home, and Athel-Loren, the Wood Elf home. They can't get to Ulthuan because it's a floating island continent that doesn't touch the sea floor. There's no ground for them to dig up under through. They can't get to
Wait, they're super smart rat people, but they can't build boats to get there? They can build nuclear bombs, but they're not gonna build boats to get to the elf island? What? I don't get that. They have submarines? Vermintide trailer summarized why Skaven are scary pretty well. Oh, they do everything in secrecy. They don't want to like put themselves out there. They do everything underground. Ah. Also, high elves are the naval power of Warhammer. Yeah, stream died. I don't know what happened. My internet and OBS just like crashed, but I restarted and we're back. We're back. And they're cowards. That makes more sense. They're not gonna lead a battalion of ships. If they can't do it in darkness and secrecy, they won't do it.
Athel-Loren, meanwhile, because the ground itself is alive and actively hates them for trespassing.
True.
They'll send thousands of their slaves and basic soldiers to death in order to slightly soften up the enemy defenses.
What is that thing? It's got a bell on it? What's coming out of it? Whatever it is, it looks cool. It's a screaming bell. There's a rat on the bell. It's a chariot for their wizards. That's kind of cool. Screaming bell. A bell they stole from a local church and covered in pee. Wait, what? I can't tell if you're trolling me or not. My friend had that bell mini like 15 years ago. Whoa, this stuff is that old? Oh yeah, I guess this is the OG. Nothing about Skaven is trolling. That's so funny.
As far as the Council of 13 that rules Skavendom is concerned, 1,000 slave rats in exchange for the enemy losing a couple rockets and cannonballs is a positive trade. This is before they start firing at you with magically powered Gatling guns, throwing poison gas at you, and lighting you on fire with magically powered flamethrowers. Every single one of those things has the potential to break and kill the operators because the magic rocks powering it are incredibly unstable, and it just doesn't matter to the Skaven. Other Skaven killed are other potential rivals killed, and everyone else they kill is one less.
Wow! They think of everyone as a rival and a competitor. What a way to live. That is like actually paranoia to the max. They don't even care if their equipment kills each other because, I mean, one less Skaven to worry about.
Less obstacle to Skaven domination over the world. That magical substance they use to power their weapons is a rock called Warpstone, by the way, and the Skaven covet it above all else. They use it to power.
Every last Skaven thinks they're the next leader of all Skavendom. Oh my god. That's... Wow. Innovation level 100, empathy level 0. On tabletop, they were the only faction allowed to shoot into combat, so they don't care if they hit their own guys. Friendly fire's always on.
Pretty much everything that isn't manually powered by treadmills of slave rats. Other uses for it include using it to boost their magical strength, boost their physical strength, as food, and as a cocaine equivalent. Everyone else that touches the stuff either mutates or dies on the spot, and for the Skaven it's nose candy. If they sound goofy, it's because they are, but consider what it's like on the other side of a Skaven invasion. You're walking down the street, things have been a bit rough with the goings-on in the town, but nothing that can't be explained by natural causes. Then all you hear is explosions, the sounds of the most horrifying mutated monstrosities ever conceived, and right as you turn the corner, all you see is dozens of beady red eyes staring at you with full intent to kill and eat you.
Actually
and that's
terrifying.
If you're lucky. On the other end of things, the Skaven are horrifying. There's a lot more about the Skaven I could say, but here's a quick and easy way to know if you like them. If you despise everything about everyone around you, know for a fact you should be in charge of everyone because you're clearly right, and altruism makes you want to curl up and die, you'll like the Skaven. Or alternatively, if you want to rock up to a fantasy setting with machine guns, magical...
the idea of altruism makes you want to curl up and die. And you're just full of hatred. Skaven's for you. Much like many races.
artillery and nuclear bombs, they're for you too.
I like Skaven because of the nuclear bombs. I think that's fun. If nukes are involved, I'm in. I'm in.
And I believe that is every major fantasy faction, and a lot of the minor ones. If you're new to fantasy, I hope this was a decently informative primer. If you aren't, I hope something in here was funny. Thank you as always to my wonderful channel members. You are the Warhammer fantasy to my Warhammer, the backbone of everything that has come before and since. If you'd like to support the channel, feel free to subscribe or become a member. Either way, thank you for watching and take care out there.
Thank you, Pancreas. Thank PancreasNoWork. Great video. Great video on the factions. We made it through. We made it through the tech issues. We made it through all the factions. We came out the other side victorious. Wait until the credits. He does post-credit jokes? Oh, does he? Okay.
There's a whole faction of vampire pirates I didn't really talk about. For the overall lore, they're just not important, but one of them has the largest navy in the world. That's what Warhammer Fantasy considers forgettable. A pirate vampire with the largest navy in the world.
Wait, why is he... That's amazing! A pirate vampire with the largest naval army in the world. And what is behind him? Is that a pirate ship turned into like a mech? Or something? A pirate ship thing? That is so cool! I want one of those! Pirate vampires aren't a tabletop thing, but they're playable in Total War. Holy heck, it's cool. And it's stuffed with rotting corpses. It's a rotting corpse pirate ship bomb that walks. This might be one of the coolest things I've seen today. A pirate ship mech full of rotting pirate corpses, I think. And zombie crabs. This is the coolest thing.
Total War only for the most part, but hey, it's pretty cool to play in that.
Well, we gotta play Total War. I don't care if it kills my viewership. We gotta play Total War. It sounds so cool. But I'm really bad at strategy. I'm really bad at strategy, but it looks fun and cool. I'm just gonna lose every battle. I'm gonna lose every battle because I got no brains, but I got heart. As long as I have a heart, right, chat? Right, chat? Alright, my favorites. I like the Wood Elves. They were cool. I like the Skaven, because how can you not like nuclear evil rats? Wow, I liked a lot of them. I liked the Wood Elves. I liked the Skaven. Cathay sounded very cool. I liked Bretonnia at first, but it has gone down. It has gone down in the ranks. So have the Lizardmen. Bretonnia and Lizardmen, they've ranked down with the new people that came out, with the new factions at the end. No, my lizard boys! I do like ogres. I think they're funny, but I wouldn't rank them as my favorite. I think they're just quirky. I also liked, oh, what were they called? The Tomb Kings? Yes, I did like them. They were cool. I love me some necromancer type stuff. Love me some skeleton boys. So I think my top 3 are... Ooh, I like Tomb Kings, I like Skaven, and the third is a toss-up between Cathay and the Wood Elves, I think. Because I typically don't like Wood Elves, but I like that they're kind of like badass and mean. Necronmancers. Yeah. There's so many good factions, actually. There's so many good factions. Tomb Kings are like little Necrons. It makes sense. They're like little fleshy Necrons. I should watch the Total War trailers, actually. Yeah, I like Fae, like the really dark, twisted, messed up Fae. The kind of Fae that will like trick you into doing like horrible things. That's the kind of Fae that I like, and the Wood Elves are kind of like that, so that's why I like them. Tell her what games and DLC she needs for Tomb King, Skaven, and Cathay, and Wood Elves. I think Tomb Kings came with the base game, he said. But I should see what Skaven are in. Oh, Tomb Kings is a DLC. Oh. Yeah, the steal your children type Fae. That's the kind of Fae that I like. The steal your children kind. Steal and eat your children. Yum. That's my favorite. Yeah, all the Warhammer Fantasy stuff is on sale, so I'm trying to put my pack together so I know what to get. Tomb Kings are a starter faction for the Old World Tabletop. Oh, that's what he meant, for the Old World Tabletop. I was thinking of Total War.